Hello, everybody. Today is September 19th, 2023. I will be out through Thursday, so I'm back Friday, but then I have to be out again Monday through Wednesday for MYP training. So just be aware that I'm going to do my best to get you guys understanding the content and make sure you got it on Friday. So, September 19th, 2023, I can describe and explain causes and consequences of economic and geographic expansion in order to analyze the impact of significant turning points from 1803 to 1865. So, I know I gave a lot of work. I know I did not at all expect you to finish yesterday's work. So I want you first to complete the notes and Edpuzzle from yesterday if you need to. Complete the Trail of Tears assignment from yesterday if you need to. I would give you about 40 to 45 minutes to do that. Then I need you to start on today's activity, which is the Geography of Slavery assignment. If you finish all of that, you can do the test, reteach, remediation, progress learning videos. And if you've done your 13 out of 20, I have assigned the test retake for you on progress learning. So that is available. I'm sorry, I'm going to be coughing, I'm going to be sneezing. I am generally miserable right now. All right, so the Geography of Slavery and Road to War. You are getting a handout, a Cami handout. Looks like this. Here, I'll pull it up for you so you can see what it looks like in general. So it looks like this. So as you go through, you will just shade, using Cami, you'll shade the free states blue and the slave states red. And if they're disputed, you can shade them purple and you'll be filling in information. So some of this is stuff you learned, you should have done in your notes yesterday. Some of it's new information. Most of it's new information. What I tried to do was give you the westward expansion first, and then we would hop over to what was going on in regards to slavery and how states were being created. So, let's look at page 2. So the Missouri Compromise was 1820, and I did put that in your work from yesterday. So Missouri wanted to join the U.S. as a slave-holding state. It had double the amount of enslaved African Americans that it did white people. But we needed a balance. And so we created the state of Maine, and we drew that line. So it's supposed to be no states north of the line. We're going to have slaves other than, Missouri. No new states, I should say, because Kentucky, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, they were slaveholding states as well at the time. So it's going to be 11 slave states and 11 free states. And that's supposed to balance it because we don't want the interests of one group overpowering the interests of another group. We want to have compromise. And so this is in the name, right? With the Missouri Compromise, the idea was that slaveholding states would not have more power in the United States than free states, or what we call free states. But this is going to come back to bite us in the butt. So this is going to extend to something called sectarianism. So we see this a little bit today. We're very partial to our part of the country. We're loyal to where we live, or we're loyal to a specific area of the country. I mean, I even feel it sometimes myself, like I'm a Midwesterner. Now I live in the South. I love the South, but in my head, I was raised as a Midwesterner. I don't have that exaggerated loyalty, but you'll see a lot of people do. Like, especially around here, when people are coming in on vacation, you're always thinking, oh, those people from Ohio or New York or New Jersey, they're so annoying. Well, that's kind of our loyalty, or actually not so much loyalty to this region, but a disdain for other regions, which is part of this idea. So Henry Clay said, we're not going to have states north of this line of latitude. And the Missouri Compromise preserved that balance and shut people up for a while. But of course, Missouri and several other states were above that line, and things are going to come to a head again. So, in your notes the day before, we know in the 1840s there was conflict with Mexico, and there was this big debate about the expansion of slavery in the United States. Texas is a slaveholding state, and it became a slaveholding state in 1845. And California and New Mexico were looking to go the same direction. Well, that's not going to go well, because then you've got, right now, 1845, we've now got 12 slaveholding states, 11 free states. We're looking at adding 2 more slaveholding states. And of course, the non-slaveholding states are going to get upset. So they proposed the Wilmot Proviso, an American law to ban slavery in any land we get from Mexico in the Mexican War. The Mexican cession lands will not be slaveholding states. John C. Calhoun, South Carolinian, wanted California and New Mexico to stay open to slavery. And he wanted to make it so that no government could ban slavery from a territory, nor could they regulate it. Now, notice I say territory, not state. So when it becomes a state, you make the argument, well, there are slaves here, so we should have slavery. And so these are very opposite suggestions. Calhoun, of course, from a slave-holding state, South Carolina. So neither of these passed. And they're going to start a whole new political party. So we've got the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Free Soil Party. The slogan, free soil, free speech, free labor, free men. So basically it was all about people who did not want slavery. So we end up with the Compromise of 1850. So we've got the Mexican-American War ending, and we're trying to figure out this stuff. At this point, we have 15 free states, 15 slave states. So we've increased the number of states. California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah are looking like they're going to be free states. But Southerners start talking about secession, leaving the United States if they have a loss of power. It's better to leave the United States entirely and form their own country. But the compromise is going to give everybody something. Compromise is something we lack in today's society, because it's saying, I'll work with you if you work with me. And obviously, the Civil War started in 1860, so this compromise is not going to have a lasting effect, but it did hold off the war. So, all right, here's what we've got. For slave states, we have Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Indian Territory, which is going to become Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and then free states or territories. We have California, Oregon, unorganized, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. And then you've got Utah, New Mexico, which is going to turn into like Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, as open to the idea of slavery, depending on who based on a vote, basically. And the same thing's going to happen in the unorganized territory with Kansas and Nebraska. So we have the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Stephen Douglas, he's the guy that runs against Abraham Lincoln, I think for Senate, or maybe, I can't even remember right now, guys. My head hurts so bad. But the Kansas-Nebraska Act is proposed by Stephen Douglas, who is famous for the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And Douglas developed a plan to expand our country, both the North and the South, get rid of the Missouri Compromise, and allow Kansas and Nebraska to vote. So in 1854, this happens. And I want you to think about this. So if you decide that everybody is going to have the power to vote on whether slavery or no slavery is the thing in the states, if you feel passionately, you're going to get your butt out there to make sure that you have a say. Even if you don't plan on staying there, you're moving there to have a say. And by 1855, you have a pro-slavery government. So now we've got Indian Territory, Kansas Territory, all these Nebraska Territory, all this dispute. So these purple areas are where popular sovereignty or the people get to decide. And this is going to create more conflict. There were only 1,500 people living in Kansas, but over 6,000 voted. As I said, you're going to do everything you can to have your say. They didn't have voter registration like we do today. There was no way of checking that. And we talk about how people are disenfranchised by ID requirements and things like that. But when you look at this, you kind of wonder, I can kind of see why they'd want to verify the person voting to make sure that, you don't accidentally steal somebody else's spot, or that you're registered, because look at this, 6,000 people. That means that, 4,500 people cast votes that didn't even live in the state. And even more than that, because most women didn't have the right to vote. In fact, women didn't get the right to vote until 1919. So anyway, the Missouri people swung the vote, and the new Kansas government passed laws supporting slavery, and they banned political candidates who oppose slavery. We all know that violates free speech, but hey. The anti-slavery people in Kansas refused to accept and armed themselves, so they all went and got weapons and held their own elections. And tensions going to boil over. 800 people who were pro-slavery burned the anti-slavery, so the second government, capital of Lawrence, Kansas. So John Brown, he's an abolitionist, showed up and started killing people who supported slavery. Not a great look, really. And he was terrifying. They began to call this a civil war. This is we call Bleeding Kansas. A civil war is a conflict between citizens of the same country. Congress gets in on the action, and a pro-slavery representative walks in and beats Senator Charles Sumner with a cane on the floor of the Senate. Not a good look. Not a good look at all. So that's a problem, right? Okay, so Charles Sumner says, the age of chivalry, or politeness, good manners, has gone. The age of humanity has come. This is going to be a BFD. And I'm not going to explain what that means because you know. So now, you should be going through with me talking and filling this out. You can go back, you can do whatever you need to do. I just thought it might be nice for you guys to actually hear me explain because you know you love my tangents. If there's anything you guys need, email me. I am available on email. I did get 1 or 2 emails today. I appreciate that. I like knowing what's going on. If you're having difficulty with something, tell me, because I cannot do anything if I don't know. But if I know, I can look at it, I can fix it. So just let me know what's going on, and I will see you Friday, and I will be back tomorrow with another video explaining the lesson.